So there's me dancing to James Brown on my own outside Culver House Cross.
Do you really think that in future, if ELCOs were to be worded in that shorter, broader, principle-based way, they would get past the Welsh Affairs Select?
I don't anticipate that the Welsh Affairs Select Committee is going to substantially change its views until the membership of the Welsh Affairs Select Committee substantially changes. We've tried it this way. We've had the problems we've experienced. I think I personally would like to see the government change track to this broader principles. I think it would make it harder on the Welsh Affairs Select Committee to object. But principally, I think it's the view, it's the perspective of some of those members of that committee that ultimately needs to change.
I was just going to ask you to respond to that. Is it again?
Well, I wasn't here. I've only heard gossip
well,
around.
He was criticising you for saying that the civil service had been flying first class.
Yeah, the word was repugnant.
Repugnant. Oh, that's definitely not love bombing. I don't think in any definition of what you could describe love bombing to be, repugnant could not be described as that.
The story, it was repugnant.
Didn't do anything.
By talking about first class travel. Just wrong.
Well, I don't think we've overhyped the story. If I'm glad the First Minister has clarified that they're not travelling that first class. That's a great reassurance to know. But if you look at the actual figures, you know, there are some very expensive flights being booked. There's either an awful lot of people that are flying courtesy of the Welsh taxpayer, or they're flying on very, very expensive tickets. So if you could go on to further clarify why some of those bills, I mean, one transaction £6,000 and odd pounds, other transactions in the region of £4,000. So if you could go on to give us further clarification of why those flight bills are so big, I'd be very grateful.
He says that he's cut down the expenditure by closing offices in various parts of the world, so there is a need to fly more often because they say they make considerable savings on the offices they've closed.
Well, maybe he should look at the rent he's paying on the Chrysler Building in the New York office. I mean, what you've got to remember is this is just a small part of the budget for this particular department. On top of this, for instance, they're paying almost £250,000 a year for their offices in the Chrysler Building. They've got 10 staff in that building. The office space is absolutely huge, you know, in terms of how you could accommodate 10 people. The excuse for that is they have to have exhibition space in the Chrysler Building so that they can entertain and, you know, showcase Wales in that particular building. Yet they're spending thousands of pounds around the corner in Clancy's bar, supposedly entertaining people when they've come over to see the Joe Calzaghe fight. They can't have it both ways. So I dare say they've cut costs in some of the buildings, but potentially I think they need to be looking at, you know, how this department is run. Of course, there is a legitimate role and job to be done representing Wales to the rest of the world. If the First Minister is willing to come and clarify how some of this expenditure has been amassed, that's great. And if we could also have some clarity about the performance of this particular department and whether this represents a good return on taxpayers' money, that would also be very welcome from him.
We've been asking everyone this morning for their highlights and low points of the past term. I just wondered what your highlights and low points were.
Highlights and low points of the last term. Well, the whole last 6 months, 7 months has been a complete highlight. It's been a fantastic 6 months. It's quite difficult to believe, really, that it's flown so fast. So maybe that's a high point, that it's gone so quickly. I guess the low point would be not winning the European election seat. We would have really loved to have made that breakthrough. So I guess that would be my low point of the year so far. But the whole 7 months has been amazing. And of course, coming here on a Tuesday morning, I can't, you know, what more could a party leader want than to come and see Clive's smiling face on a Tuesday morning? Did somebody leave us behind? Who's that belonging to? Property of Ewick.